Obadiah 1. Edom's arrogance and ruin. The vision of Obadiah. Thus says Adonai Elohim concerning Edom. We have heard a report from Adonai, and an envoy has been sent among the nations. Arise and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I will make you least among the nations. You will be greatly despised. The arrogance of your heart has deceived you. Living in the clefts of the rock, his dwelling place is lofty, saying in his heart, who shall bring me down to earth, even if you soar like an eagle, and even if you set your nest among the stars? From there I will bring you down, declares Adonai. If thieves came to you, if robbers by night, how ruined you would be. Would they keep stealing after they had enough? If grape gatherers came to you, would they not leave some gleaning? How Esau will be ransacked, and how hidden treasures searched out. All your allies will force you to the border. The men that are at peace with you will deceive you and overpower you. Those who eat your bread will set a trap under you. He has no discernment. In that day, declares Adonai, will I not destroy the wise men from Edom and understanding from the hill country of Esau? Then your mighty men, O Timon, will be shattered, so everyone will be cut off from the hill country of Esau by slaughter. Because of your violence to your brother Jacob, shame will cover you, and you will be cut off forever. On the day you stood aloof, on the day that strangers carried away his wealth, while foreigners entered his gates, and cast lots for Jerusalem, you were just like one of them. You should not look down on your brother on the day of his disaster. Nor should you rejoice over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. You shall not speak proudly in the day of their distress. Do not enter the gate of my people in the day of their disaster. Yes, you do not gloat over the misery in the day of their disaster. Yes, you do not loot their wealth in the day of their calamity. Do not stand on the crossroad to cut down his fugitives, and do not imprison his survivors in the day of distress. The house of Jacob will be a fire. For the day of Adonai is near against all the nations. As you have done, it shall be done to you. Your dealing will return to your own head, for just as you have drunk on my holy mountain, so all the nations shall drink continually. Yes, they will drink and gulp but down, and then be as though they had never existed. But on Mount Zion there will be deliverance, and it will be holy. Then the house of Jacob will dispossess those who dispossess them. The house of Jacob will be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. While the house of Esau will be straw, they will set them on fire and consume them, so there will be no survivors of the house of Esau. For Adonai has spoken. Then those of the Negev will possess the hill country of Esau, and those in the foothills of the Philistines, they will possess the territory of Ephraim and the territory of Samaria, while Benjamin will possess Gilead. The exiles of this army of Beni Israel will possess what belonged to the Canaanites, as far as Zarephath, while the exiles of Jerusalem who were in Sepharad will possess the cities of the Negev. The victorious will go up on Mount Zion to judge the hill country of Esau, and then the kingdom shall be Adonai's. Jonah chapter 1. Jonah runs from his mission. Now the word of Adonai came to Jonah, son of Amittai, saying, Rise, go to the great city Nineveh, and call out to her, for their evil has risen before me. But Jonah rose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of Adonai. He went down to Jaffa, found a ship going to Tarshish, paid the fee, and went down in to go with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of Adonai. Then Adonai hurled a forceful wind into the sea, and there was such a mighty storm on the sea that the ship was about to shatter. So the sailors were afraid and cried out, each man to his own god. Then they cast the cargo that was in the ship into the sea to lighten it. But Jonah had gone down to the lowest part of the ship to lay down and fell fast asleep. So the chief sailor came near to him and said to him, What, are you sleeping? Get up, call out to your God. Perhaps the gods will consider us, we will not perish. Then each man said to his companion, Come, let's cast lots, so we may know because of whom this evil is happening to us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Then they said to him, Tell us now, on whose account is this evil happening to us? What is your profession, and where did you come from? What is your land, and from what nation are you from? And from what nation are you? He said to them, I am a Hebrew, and I fear Adonai, God of the heavens, who made the sea and the dry land. Then the men became afraid, and overwhelmed in fear, they said to him, What have you done? For the men knew that he had fled from the presence of Adonai, because he had told them. So they said to him, What should we do to you so the sea will become calm for us? For the storm was raging on. Pick me up and throw me into the sea, he said to them, and the sea will become calm for you, for I know it is because of me that this great storm is upon you. Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to return to the land, but they could not, because the sea kept raging against them. So they cried out to Adonai and said, Please, Adonai, don't let us perish on account of the soul of this man, and don't put innocent blood on us. For you, Adonai, have done as you pleased. So they picked up Jonah and threw him into the sea, and the sea stilled from its raging. And the men became afraid with the overwhelming fear of Adonai, and they offered a sacrifice to Adonai and made vows. Jonah chapter 2. Now Adonai prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Jonah's prayer of distress. Then Jonah prayed to Adonai, his God, from the belly of the fish, saying, From my distress I cried to Adonai, and he answered me. From the belly of Sheol I cried for help, and you heard my voice. For you hurled me from the deep into the heart of the seas, and currents swirled around me. All your waves and your breakers swept over me, and I said, I have been banished from your sight, from before your eyes, yet I will continue to look toward your holy temple. Waters surrounded me up to my soul, the deep sea engulfed me, reeds clung to my head. To the bottoms of the mountains I went down, the earth with her bars was around me forever. Yet you brought my life up from the pit, Adonai my God. As my soul was fading from me, I remembered Adonai, and my prayer came to you toward your holy temple. Those who watch worthless empty things forsake their mercy, but I, with a voice of thanks, will sacrifice to you. What I vowed I will pay. Salvation is from Adonai. Then Adonai spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah into the dry land. Jonah chapter 3. Nineveh repents. Now the word of Adonai came to Jonah a second time, saying, Rise and go to Nineveh, the great city, and cry out to the proclamation that I am telling you. So Jonah rose and went to Nineveh according to the words of Adonai. Now Nineveh was a great city to God, the length of a 3-day journey. So Jonah began to come into the city for 1 day's journey, and he cried out, saying, Another 40 days, and Nineveh will be overthrown. And the people of Nineveh believed God and called for a fast, and wore sackcloth, from the greatest of them to the least of them. When the word reached the kings of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his robe, covered himself in sackcloth, and sat in the ashes. He made a proclamation, saying, In Nineveh, by the decree of the king and his nobles, no man or beast, herd or flock may taste anything. They must not graze nor drink water, but cover man and beast with sackcloth. Let them cry out to God with urgency. Let each one turn from his evil ways and from the violence in his hands. Who knows? God may relent, and turn back from his burning anger, so that we may not perish. When God saw their deeds, that they turned from their wicked ways, God relented from the calamity that he said he would do to them, and he did not do it. Jonah chapter 4. Jonah's displeasure at God's mercy. But it greatly displeased Jonah, and he resented it. So he prayed to Adonai and said, Please, Lord, was this not what I said when I was still in my own country? That's what I anticipated, fleeing to Tarshish, for I knew that you are a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and full of kindness and relenting over calamity. So please, Adonai, take my soul from me, because better is my death than my life. Yet Adonai said, Is it good for you to be so angry? So Jonah went out from the city and sat east of the city. There he made a sukkah, and he sat under it in the shade until he saw what would happen in the city. And Adonai, God, prepared a plant and grew it up over Jonah to give shade over his head and to spare him from his discomfort. So Jonah was very happy about the plant. But God, at the dawn the next day, prepared a worm that crippled the plant, and it withered away. When the sun rose, God prepared a scorching east wind, and the sun beat down on Jonah's head so that he became faint. So he implored that his soul would die, saying, My death would be better than my life. Then God said to Jonah, Is it good for you to be so angry about the plant? It is, he said. I'm angry enough to die. But Adonai said, You have pity on the plant for which you did no labor or make it grow, that appeared overnight and perished overnight. So shouldn't I have pity on Nineveh, the great city that was in it more than 120,000 people who don't know their right hand from their left, as well as many animals?